Hello folks, I want to show you today on how to change vinyl skirting to something that's quite a bit more substantial, and what we're using is the same commercial metal. First thing I had to do is measure the three corners that are the highest and determine that height as being how many, say half of them in this case were 40 something inches, 42 inches, and the other were 36. Some of them are quite a bit longer than what we need, but we'll be cutting them off. This metal allows you to be durable. The finish itself is 40-year guarantee. And then you know how long metal will last after it's rusty. You've seen many a rusty roof on a barn. So 50, 60 years, we're hoping this stuff will still be here. But what we're doing, and the bad part about vinyl skirting, which will charge you quite often as much for vinyl skirting as for what we're about to do here. But if you notice down over here against the house, the bottom of the rail is pushed in, the skirting's pulled out, and there's holes at the bottom. Sometimes that's caused by weed eaters, sometimes by lawnmowers. It could be any number of things, because after 5 years, everything gets brittle plastic-wise. And this happens a lot. This one has lasted quite a bit longer. Quite a testament to what vinyl skirting can do, but it shows you exactly what happens with vinyl skirting. What we're going to do is use the top rail and the bottom rail that is existing. And you could do the same thing at your place. And what we'll have to do is straighten out the bottom rail, which in this case is pushed in. And we're going to bring it back out and then put in metal and use the same trim that's already existing. Again, this is something you can do very easily, and we'll take you through it. Right here again is an example of how the plastic will deteriorate. And by the way, it'll do the same even if you spray it with poison to kill the grass. That will soften this metal and just fall apart, just as if a weed eater did it. So again, it's pushed it in. These panels are interlocked together, and I'll show you how to take that apart. And then this is called a top front. The top front snaps in. So what we're going to do, pull out the top front and slide out the panels. Looks real easy, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really bad. We're going to have to clean up all this right here, and then the bottom rail will have to be moved and cleaned out. All that dirt will have to come out of there. Hello again. What we're doing now is what we talked about. We're going to straighten out this rail. This is what we call a bottom rail, and we're going to clean it out. But it needs to be moved. In order to do that, like Chris has done right here, we've had to dig in front so we can move it over. This bottom rail is fastened by nails. You have one of those nails? And we're going to make sure the nails are down where we want them to be, and we're cleaning all this out with screwdrivers. These nails sometimes are in the middle. In this case, there's holes on the outside. So as soon as we get it where we want to, take a hammer and drive it down. A lot of times, you might hit a nail. It's going to do some funny stuff. You may have to pull it up and go to a different hole. But in that case, we were fortunate. And so what we're doing right now is cleaning out this rail so we can get the new material in that dirt is allowing us to do. So we're going to clean it all up. And there's something else I want to tell you. If you go to working with this material, the top front, this is your top back. The top front's what goes over that, covers your material. And then the bottom rail here, you don't want to mess with this stuff below freezing. If you notice, we're in warm weather gear, but it's not freezing yet. What will happen is that material will crack and bust like crazy. You won't be able to reuse it. You'll have to get something else. And by the way, that stuff's not expensive. $6, $7 a section. So What we're trying to do is help you save money by doing this yourself or for someone else. Here we are. We didn't put several nails down through here, but in this case, again, I'm going to show you the nails are right there. Sometimes they're in the middle. You need to get them all down so it'll be out of the way. Now keep in mind, this bottom rail, the back side is higher than the front side. That way you can bump up against it and slide down. And the metal that we're using is a little bit thicker than the skirtings. We'll end up widening that. Now, the top rail, before we get started, you need to make sure it's fastened good. In this case, they put vinyl siding over top of masonite. The masonite rots out real bad. It is fastened real good right here. So I'm going to start on this other end. I'm going to start getting measurements, and I want you to watch, and I'll show you over and over again how I do it. This corner panels are 37 inches long, but they overlap. Okay? I'm going to stick my tape measure down inside that bottom rail, and I don't want to go all the way up to the top, because if I take that skirting all the way to the top, then I can't push that top front trim on. So I'm going to stay down an inch or so. So in this case, one side is 30.5. This one's 29.5, so we'll have to cut an angle. Plus, I'm going to wrap around. In this case, 8 or 9 inches. This is my stack of material. Remember, it's 30.5 on one side, 29.5 on the other. So I'm going to pull from the top, but you want the top to stay straight, and we're going to cut the bottom. 30.5 here. 29.5 here. And then you can use any kind of straight edge. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and use the top rail, the top front. It has a straight edge right there that's real stiff, but you can use a 4-foot level piece of board, chalk line, whatever you want. I'm going to use a pencil and a straight edge after I made marks on both sides. Again, I'm going to show you this over and over. Like so. Now, I have a pair of snips here. What I'm fixing to do may look easy, but it takes some practice. Pick up the sheet, and I'm using straight snips. If you notice the yellow handles, this is kind of rusty, but straight snips. And you can use right and left, but you got to be able to cut straight. Straight works out pretty good. So here I go. I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to try to peel it forwards. At the same time, I'm going to start putting pressure down on this side. And it literally lends itself. It wants to tear, but I'm taking the snips and showing it where I want it to tear. I'm pulling up on it. Okay, this is 30.5 from the top down, 29.5 from the top down on the left. And I said I needed 9 inches on the other side, so we got to bend this metal. When it comes to bending this metal, you have several choices. You have the high ribs and these lower ribs. You can bend them on those. They have a tendency to bend right there. Sometimes you might have to help it. In this case, 9 inches falls out about on that first rib. So we're going to go ahead and bend it right in the middle of that rib. This is how I'm going to do it. Color down. We have to build it more than once. See how it's bent? Now I gotta wiggle it over there into that really wired up area and get it down inside that bottom rail. these ribs will want to go inside, so you may have to force it open a little bit. You notice how it falls out along the top? I'm getting a little bit closer, but it's acceptable. I'll have to go on the other side and work it. Today, what I'm using is screws that are made to fasten this material on roofs and on the side of buildings. It's a coating, the same as that. But being as it is under the top front, you could use a nail, you can use screws, galvanized or not galvanized, because it's not in the weather. Okay? So what I'm going to do is use it with a battery pack gun. So you can use an electric gun, you can use a drill, you can use whatever bit you want to get what you need to get done. Here we are. If you notice, it's even across, it's down a little bit. Fasten it on the other side of this fence, which took a little bit of a journey. And now I'm going to fasten it right here. It's inside the bottom rail. Now I'm going to do that what I did before. I'm going to measure it. Also notice the wires we're putting in behind. The only thing will be left is a cable on the outside. Again, I'm going to measure here, which is, I'm going to say 29 and a half. And then we're going to measure over 36, because one time it laps, it will be 36. Then I measure down inside the bottom rail. Right here, I'm going to say 30 on both ends. So I hold it right in there. That way we don't interfere with that top rail. So I'm going to go over here to the stack. Going to measure 30. And on the other end, from the top down, 30. I'm going to take my straight edge, which again, this is top rail. Pencil marks it all the way across. You can use crayons, you can use all kinds of things. Then I'm going to take my snips. I'm going to cut through that first rib, and I'm going to start pressing down on one side, lifting up on the other, cutting down that line. Don't be discouraged if you can't do it that easy. It's something that takes a lot of practice, but it can be done. I want that rib to be lapped over right there. We know that this one was 30, so I need to measure 36 inches over. And I'll measure down again. Need to be couple inches down, so we dropped off to 32. So going from 30 to 32. Here's 30. Here's 32. There's that angle. Gonna measure over 36. 33 and a half. So I'm going on the first one. 32. $33 and a half. Straight edge across it. Those cuts. In this case, I have a phone line right here that has to go through. And what I'm going to do, since it has slack, is to take it over here. And I got to go through the rib. You have to use the same principle. You have to peel up one and you get that snip underneath there. And then just cut a little bit bigger, a quarter-inch bigger than the wire. And what I like to do is fold that metal back in there. And I'll tell you why. If you fold it back in there, that doesn't leave a raw edge there to cut the wire. So again, I'm going to put the wire in like this. That allows me to come over with the metal and just leave that little hole there. You notice quite a few of these wires go up and over and down through a rib, or you can go behind here. As long as you don't put a screw into them, you'll be okay. I wanted to show you guys how to deal with if you don't have bottom rail and top rail. And this situation here is a place where there was no bottom rail or top rail. He wanted to enclose this ramp, which again is a complicated or scenario if you've never done it before. And this back area right here. What we use, instead of buying the elaborate bottom rail, this vinyl and cracks eventually, but we're using a J-channel that's made by just a regular J-channel. It's very, very common in the metal industry. And it's got a 40-year lifespan. Don't expect that to last when you put it up on the dirt. And what I'm going to do is put it along the bottom here. And we need to stay flush, or as fairly straight, so the back of this would be with the back of here where the metal slips in there. And it is 3/4 inches inside. It's 1 inch lip here and probably 2.5 right here. So what I'm going to do next is measure between here. It shows 92.5. Cut both sides of that J, and you bend it open so you can get your snips in there, and you cut across. See that? Now, how to fasten that? There is a variety of different nails you can use. These are sort of used in the kits that you get with the vinyl package, and believe me, they're quite expensive. You're not saving any money. These are like landscaping nails. We can drive the nails through the landscaping timbers into the next one. These are steel spikes that are for, again, heavy use. Yeah, they range 18 cents a piece, something like that. The newer packages of vinyl skirting packages have these kind of nails. They're aluminum. You hit one rock and they're bent, and but I'm going to use all these different nails on this J channel that I just cut here. I've already leveled it out a little bit, but in this case there is a root over here, and the dirt is kind of washed out right here. So sometimes you have to make a choice as to whether or not to fill in the dirt, as opposed to trying to make it jog up and down. And in reality, you just kind of make it weaker, because when you cut the sides, you kind of lose strength side to side. So in this case, I've made it as flat as I could. I'm gonna try to fill this area in. So if you decide that you have a dip that you need to drop in, like if I wanted to lower this area right here, all I do to lower it is cut like so. And it drops right down. Again, we're making the back side of this J channel flat with this wood right here. And then I'm going to take hammers, a nail, kind of use my hands to spread them out, spread it out a little bit. And this is not a very big head on this hammer. And it holds it right to the ground. Honestly, a lot of times this just sort of holds it, but the metal tight is what's going to hold that stiff. Really is. It's making one continuous unit instead of individual components trying to hold it stiff. That root is making me stick up. So again, I'm going to cut it right there. Now, if you've a mind, you can take and make an outside corner or an inside corner with this material. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me get a... So I measure to this. So if I was doing that corner over there, an inside corner, and keep it continuous on the outside, all you have to do is cut the back first at the point where you want it to bend, and then cut across the bottom, and it will bend like so. There's your inside corner. Now, outside corner is a little trickier. If I wanted an outside corner in this area, I measure to the outside. You have to allow that 3/4 of an inch width. What I'm going to do, I'd have a mark right here. That's where my corner is going to be. I go about an inch on both sides of that and cut on the back side. Fold it down so I can get in there, and then I'm going to aim those snips to that point right there in the middle. I'm going to cut this way. I'm going to bend it down a little bit and then cut back over to that other. So we have a V there. And then we're going to fold that, and that makes an outside corner. Later on in this film, I'm going to show you how to deal with the bottom rail in case you don't have the bottom rail. But this is not a film on how to do vinyl skirting, but this is basically the same way. It'll be a little trickier with the plastic. There's your inside corner, and there's your outside corner. Take some practice to do that, make it look that easy, but I guarantee you can do it. The next level, after we put the J channel around, we have to make sure we make the marks so that we can cut the metal in the right place. The reason is we're going to put a top front, and the profile is a Z. The color on the outside. When you order it, they're going to say 1 inch down, 1 inch over, 3 inches down. Where do you want the color? Inside or outside? You're going to say outside. Say if you have a green skirting, a red skirting, you're going to want the color on the outside if they ask you. It's a Z metal, 1 inch, 3 inch color on the outside. It is wrapped on the bottom, the rest of it is not. Again, what I'm saying is, being this is 1 inch, you've got to make sure that your metal coming up on the skirting, metal skirting, is not past where you can get this in, and in this case underneath here. So we're going to have to be down, I'm going to say 2 inches to make sure we have plenty of room, and that's where we're going to make our mark. What we've done right here is that 2 inches down that I talked about from underneath here. It could be that the deck, you want to start from up here and you go 2 inches down, but the trim, you don't want that trim right up on that edge as a rule, because you can cut your foot, or a kid can climb on it and cut himself. So you usually want to hold it down some. Even if you want to go underneath, it's fine. But anyway, here's your 2 inches, and I measured from that down. In this case, it was different measurements. This side was longer than that side, and I've cut the panel, measuring down, and then made a straight edge across like I showed you before, cut it like I showed you before, and I'm going to put this over here. Now the back of that J channel is longer than the front. There's a reason for it. That way you can push it in and slip in there in front of the front. But now you'll have to sometimes push the metal in and pull that front J back. See how it's following the line? Or you might not be able to see. Then I'm going to fasten it again, like I showed you before.
All right.
Alright, this corner is just a little bit away. It'd be kind of hard to take and bend this metal. It could be done, bend it and do that, make that inside corner. But what I want to do is show you how to do it without bending it, cutting it. So what we're going to do is break, and I'm going to take it out there and show you how I cut this metal lengthwise. Now I'm fixing to show you how you can cut metal, and it's really quite simple. A razor knife, it doesn't have to be like this one, which is foldable. It can be any number of types of razor knives, but a razor knife is important to use. Now I measured what the lap was to where I needed it over, and it was 3 3/4 inch. Now you want to go from that lap 3 3/4 would be right about on the side of that rib would be better. It's just about a 1/4 inch difference. Shouldn't make any difference at all. So what I'm going to do, see if you can see that. Can you guys see that rib right there? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take that knife. If I didn't have the rib and I needed to cut in the middle, I would take a straight edge, mark it with a pencil first, and then take the razor knife. That way you can tell if you're traveling off that line. Sometimes you got to cut an angle. Same thing. In this case, I'm going to cut right beside the rib. You can just do it one time. Really, all you're doing is, this metal wants to break, believe it or not. You're just encouraging it where to break. So sometimes if I'm worried if it's an angle that goes across a rib, I'll cut with snips right here and right here to encourage it to go there. That's where it's going to want to bend and then break. So I'm going to bend this just like that. Now you can do across ribs. It's really difficult. You may end up having to cut with snips, you know, and it may be a lot more difficult. You end up having waste cut off some with the snips and then get over the rib. It's depending on the situation. In this case, we're doing it like that. While we're at it, if I needed to cut a pipe and the pipe fell out right there, and this sheet was like so. I mean, some people would try to cut a line all the way down and try to force that sheet down. You could do that. Ends up being real rough looking right here. Or you could cut across. So if it's over in the middle of the sheet, you could cut across over to it, and it ends up being real rough. You can put metal stuff behind it. You can do that, but it ends up looking rough. If you have a situation and you have a pipe or a cutout in the middle and you want to know, hey, how can I get that a little bit better? It could be over here. It doesn't have to be right here. It could be anywhere up and down. So you draw your pipe. Give me a pair of snips over here, Jack. And you break that metal close to it. So this is fairly close. Not dead on it, but just a little over. And I'll show you why. What you'd end up doing is cut just a little bit, which makes it easier to get in there. You cut your size. You can use hole saws if you don't feel comfortable doing it by hand. But you make sure you leave a little bit of room. And then you can lap this over. And you do the same size cut there. You can lap it over more. You can take another sheet, break it, and lap it over. That means that allows you to go over it and cover just a little bit tighter and a little bit stronger. Ends up being a better look, I promise you. If you want to, you can stitch it together. But you can cut all different kinds of angles and penetrations. You can have 4 of them and then lap it over with that cut. I can take another half a sheet, lap it over that much, all the way over to this rib. I can cut along this rib, lap over, and then put that piece in. A lot of choices. Now I have that piece of metal that I showed you. I'm going to stick it in here. I have to pull out the J-channel like I was showing you before. That allows me to put a screw in up here underneath that front we're going to put on. That covers that area. I don't have to make a real tight corner either. Next thing I'm going to do is measure from here to get my angle down. There may be a problem if you have a major slope this way or this way and an angle here. How do you deal with that? Well, in that case, you would take a level, get a level mark or level area, measure from your level down, from whatever point it is. Say if this was your high point and that was your low point, you would put your level over here, level down, make a mark over here, measure down from here, and then measure up to this angle and up to this angle. Then you can go back over to your sheet, take your level mark, measure that much down and that much up on both sides. And it's tricky, but you can do it. And being this a DVD, you can review what I just said. And with some practice, you'll get it done. If you remember right, there was a bit of a hump there because of this root. You can see how I cut that to do it. What I did was I stuck the metal in there, determine where it was on this metal, and I cut a little bit of a section out. Just guessed it by hand. And we're going to stick this in there and see how good it does. kind of pushing a little bit, so we're going to cut an angle right here. And by the way, when we go off camera, there's not a team underneath the tent doing all the work for me. This is stuff that I do every day. I have a pair of snips. That's because this area right here went uphill. We determined that it needed to be 21 1/4 over with that lap to the post right there. So I'm going to take this scrap piece of metal, take this razor knife, and cut right there. Right on that rib. And we're going to cut this metal. Let's carry it over. Need those snips again. And we're on to the next piece. Eight quarter, 36 wide, 5 3/4. This is where we're going to put this top front, which is the Z metal. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks when it comes to getting angles. In this case, I'm going to hold it up.
Hey. Two.
In this case, I push this up here, and I look up here, and the bottom is hitting before the top. And it can be the top hitting before the bottom. And the difference is, and you can measure it, it could be, in this case, it's going to be 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is take this back down. Since there was a gap at the top, we're going to cut out off the bottom at an angle to that top. Then I'm going to put it back up, and then I'm going to go over here to this post. It's going to be another angle cut, and I can eyeball that. When you cut this Z channel, you're going to cut the top and the front there. Open it up so that you can cut across again. That should allow us, let me have that screws and the screw gun over here, to fit right in there. Battery's dead.
I'll get one.
All right, there we go. I need another piece of. You may want to do inside corners and outside corners for sure. You will do if you end up doing more of the top front. I personally think that that looks pretty good. But anyway, if you wanted to do an inside corner, kind of handy to make a straight edge. So you would take and mark it with a speed square. That allows you to square off things in a small way.
Now Swanson makes those, Irwin makes those, Stanley makes a speed square.
Nobody's paying us to tell you that either.
You can basically go to any Walmart hardware store and pick up a speed square for less than $10.
Okay, now we're cutting across all the way to that mark, just to give you an idea. Then I'm going over here. Well, that's on the inside. Usually what I have to do is I have to cut the front a little bit through that hem, that doubled up edge right there. But not a lot, just to encourage it to bend. That would be your inside corner. You straighten up your edges a little bit. There's your inside corner. Now an outside corner. Take that speed square, I'm marking it up here, down here. There's my mark. That mark will should be transferred to this front corner at the top. But we're going to cut over here an inch, over here an inch, inch and a quarter here. Straight down. And then we're going to fold this so I can get the snips in there. Run over to that point. This is where it gets difficult. We're going to encourage it at the bottom again when we made that mark. Cut through the hem. There is an outside corner. Just that simple.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the finished product looks like of the metal underpinning that we just did. That's the whole back side of the porch and the walk ramp. J channel and top cover.
Now we're going to show you how to put the top front. This will be the top back. This is the top front back on. In this case, I have a ground wire for the cable that we'll end up having to have a cut on it. So we'll put it up here temporarily. See where we need to put that cut. Cold weather's going to make it hard to cut this stuff without breaking it, so you might want to decide not to do it in cold weather. All right. Now you can put this stuff in with just your hands. But personally, my experience is if I just put my hands in place where it is, it can be anywhere up here, all the way down, and I just use my legs, keeps everything steady. Lift up with your legs. It's up to you.
Then you get pieces that want to do that.
He had to go forwards a little bit on that side. You notice how that's notched right there? And it's notched up inside here too. That's so the next piece can go over the top of it and snap in. So we're going to go behind this one.
Let me show the notch.
See the notch? And over the top of this one. Sometimes you have to pull these out and snap it inside that groove. But there's a finished product. We'll go to the front, we'll show some more. Alright, we're around the corner, other side of the fence. We'll put this thing back together. We'll slip it in behind that. Got to keep this corner here up underneath the top back.
You may or may not run into a spot where you have to push that up in with the screwdriver sometimes.
Oh, shut down. This is a situation where I'm trying to help you save hundreds and hundreds of dollars not having to buy that trim, using the top and bottom rail. That plastic rail can cost you a lot either as plastic or as metal. Now, in case you put it in the wrong place, which I recommend you take it out of your way so you don't step on it and break it, but where you can also remember to put it back. But in case you don't, you need to cut it. I'm going to show you how to make the cuts to slip in underneath that. What I've done right here is measure what I need to that corner, and I allowed 2 or 3 inches more inside of that. So I'm going to cut the overall first. And then I have, in this case, 3 inches marked on top and bottom. What we've got to do is cut just a little bit up on the side and then cut across the back here. And on the top, we're going to cut just like so, and then across the front. That allows us to get inside that one and lock them together. Just that simple. Now, in case you wanted to do an inside corner, you take your square up, and make a mark at the bottom and at the top. Inside corner would be cut like so on the bottom, and cut like so on the top. And you can literally fold it. And there's your inside corner. The outside corner, again, you would square. You'd have a mark on the bottom and on the top. There's your 2 marks. To do an inside, we're going to do that 45 like I showed you on the metal.
It's the outside corner.
Not only on the top, but on the bottom. That allows you to go like so without conflict. Snap it in the corner. Now, this is your bottom rail. You notice the back side's a little higher than the front side. That allows you to bump up against and drop down.
Zoom in on that for you.
There's those holes we showed you earlier that we'd be putting the nails into if you have a need. If you need to reposition them, that's where you use it. Now, to do an inside corner, it's pretty tough to work with the bottom rail on this, not like the J channel. Cutting the back, stepping back here. You have to kind of wiggle inside there.
You don't want to do that.
Or you can. And reach down in all the way up to the front right there. And you have to cut the very top lip. And on the inside corner, on the front, you have to cut a 45 on the front. That allows you to bend it like so. That's your inside corner. Now, how to cut the outside corner. If you have an outside corner, you want to measure that 3/4 out to here from where you're going to be, and that shows you where your outside corner is. Usually I cut that front, and I go ahead and cut the middle. That way I know where it is, straight back from it. Do just like I did on the inside corner. Cut all the way to the back. The difference is, instead of 45 in the front, leave it alone, you have to put 45 in the top here, and you have to 45 in the back, about 3/4 of an inch over on both sides. There's your outside corner. There you go.
Gonna take you for a final walk around the house, show you the finished product all the way around. This is the front porch. This is how you can make your house look. We did under the deck of the pool, all the way up to the pool. That way no dogs or animals can get underneath of the porches. And that is your all-around view of the metal underpinning replacing the vinyl underpinning on a 16 by 80 foot mobile home. This applies to all mobile homes.